The Chicago Bears travel to Philadelphia to face the Eagles on Black Friday, and the Eagles are minus 7-point favorites. The Bears have been hot. The Eagles are coming off a bad loss to the Cowboys where they led by 21 points, and there's still weird mojo there. Y'all's thoughts on this game?
Yeah, it's completely opposite mojo in the locker rooms. For given Chicago with their win streak, they started 0-2. They are now 8-1 in their last 9. And then with Philly, they, of course, have started kind of hot, but they've also just had so much discourse for a month and a half, 2 months, if not, with A.J. Brown. You come off losing a game in which you choke a 21-point lead. Chicago comes off yet another game where they make clutch plays at the end. They're now 6-1 in one-score games, so Sanders can pick Chicago to be terrible next year, and that would make sense. Same way he felt with Kansas City coming into this year.
Looking like I might have been right.
The jury's still out. We'll see.
That was I don't want to completely divert, but like the whole win thing, like our Chiefs video, I think was a valid question, and the YouTube title was, can the Chiefs get a win in what's expected to be a close game at home? And someone commented, I don't remember exactly what, but you bozos are terrible. Like, you just said something, and I was like, what?
Yo, dickhead.
He did not say that. We've only had that said to us one time.
Yes.
But I was just like, and whatever he said, there was no context, so I just responded with question marks, and he never responded. But I do think that like your success in one possession games can fluctuate even when you have a lot of the same team. So
I think what Jack and I argued as a counter to that was, well, we don't expect Kansas City to go from 7-0 to 0-7. We expected maybe 4-3.
Yeah.
And it has been a complete flip.
Yeah, and I think my biggest argument, which we're way off now, is like they'll probably lose a couple one-score games. I expect them to be in a whole lot less.
Yeah,
one-score
because they were in
games.
12
offense.
last year.
Yeah, and
so you expect them to be in like 6 this year and go 3-3.
And then we're still chilled. They win a ton of games. Well, that was wrong. They're still just in so many one-score games.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see the viewership on this game. It will help that much of the public will only tune into the Egg Bowl because Lane Kiffin and it may be his final game and all of that and the potential upset there. But if Old Piss is blowing us out in the second half, they'll have turned that game off. They'll have gone to this one. Georgia Tech won't have started, and if Georgia Tech...
Our game will be over.
Yeah.
11 a.m. kickoff. So
it should be very close to ending, and Georgia Tech won't have the same amount of impact it feels like it would have had last week, giving Georgia Tech's loss to Pitt. So I don't think they'll have as much of a competitive battle, but I really thought last week prior to this past weekend's games that maybe they'd actually have kind of a battle of viewership. NFL has never had a problem with that. They've had games on Saturday before. They've had Thursday games that have competed with others. They don't do Monday Night Football on the day of the national championship, but they've had to compete with college football before and other big sporting events. The World Series they compete with almost every single year. There's a game on Sunday in the World Series, and they compete with it. It hasn't mattered, and I don't think it'll matter here, especially with the teams in this game. 2 8-3 teams. It's a huge game just for Chicago. Philly, I think, can lose this game and be fine. We hope, at least I don't know how Jack feels, but as a Dak Prescott fans and Cowboy fans, because of that they lose this game, because now we're only one loss behind Philly, and if we had won against Kansas City, we're in a great spot going forward, and maybe Dallas can compete for the division. And history would say, as Jack pointed out in our earlier show, that Dallas is due to win the division, and so that wouldn't be necessarily that shocking. But for Chicago, if they can extend their lead in division with the Packers and Lions playing each other, only one team is going to get closer to them. If they get to 9-3, have a shot down the stretch. Now they've got to win this game. It's one of the big ones. They still have to play at the Packers, at the Niners, who are a postseason team at 8-4, and host the Lions. Big games down the stretch, but this is the first one. If you can win the first one, then it makes a huge difference going forward for the confidence you'll have in your team. On the flip side, it can fully swing the other way. We talked about Tampa Bay the past 3 weeks with their 3 big games. New England, at Buffalo, at Los Angeles. Loss. All of a sudden, you're looking at 8-6, 8-7.
Yeah.
Or are we even going to make the playoffs?
Yeah.
It can really flip.
And they could have the exact for the for the Buccaneers, they lose those 3 games, and then tonight you're looking at a possibility where the Panthers are with a win over the 49ers would have the lead in that NFC
Yes.
South, and you go from being dominant at like 6-1 or 6-2, and having that close loss to Philly, but you can't lose close games because Baker Mayfield is going to lead that 2-minute drive to those 3 straight losses. Chicago loses here. They still have to face Green Bay at once, and then you said face Detroit.
They faced Green Bay twice. They faced Detroit, and they're at the 49ers still.
Yeah. So you could, if that same slide where you lose this game, and then you lose one of those Green Bay games, and then you lose the Detroit game, and now you're looking at 9-8, 10-7. But in this division, do the Packers finish ahead of you? Do the Lions finish ahead of you?
Yeah.
It's just this game could define the rest of your season, set you up for success or set you up for failure.
Yeah, so much of the Commanders game has already defined the Bears' season once again, but this one is the next one that can define it because the NFC is going to be really competitive. There are 10 teams competing like the AFC, but these are really 10 teams that you really consider. Besides Carolina, it is the Cowboys, the Lions, the Niners, the Packers, the Seahawks. If the Bears lose that division lead, you're right in the bundle of Seahawks, Packers, 49ers, Cowboys. That's 4 teams. I haven't named the Bears. That's 5. Only 3 spots available for wildcard teams. So they need to be, I think the best route for Chicago to make the playoffs is to win the division, given how close Green Bay and Detroit are behind them. And so this is so much pressure on them, and it's a really, really critical game. And given everything that has happened in Philly over the past few weeks, they should be playing with a lot of confidence and be the confident team going to this game. I think the only downside they have is something that Mississippi State has had to deal with in years past, is where the big game you're about to have, the team loses the week before, and all of a sudden they lock in and they're ready to play. And I think that's the fear maybe for Chicago on Friday. Any thoughts? Otherwise, we can get to picking it.
No, I'm not going to say it because my thought kind of leads into my pick, so I'll just sit on it, and I'm ready to get out of here.
Yeah.
No disrespect to the Bears-Eagles game, but
I'll go ahead and make my pick so that Jack can we can get a Jack's pick and he can share his thoughts. I'm gonna pick Philly. I just don't know if the Bears are there yet. They've been good, but I feel like the Eagles are tested, and the Bears are not. It's in Philly. I think that if this matchup is in a year or two, I think the Bears have a good chance of winning it, but they're just so young. I don't think the Eagles. I think that the Eagles' experience in close games, in playoff against other really good teams and winning those games, I think it'll put them over the top, and they'll win this game by 7 or more. So I'm going to pick the Eagles to cover.
I think a huge part of this is Chicago on the road. This year they are 3-2 on the road, and none of the games have been easy. Their wins at Raiders, at Commanders, they won 25-24 in both of those. And then the Bengals game, they have to complete a huge comeback at the end to Colston Loveland with less than a minute left and a huge shootout. And then their 2 losses were uncompetitive. At Detroit, their second game of the year, completely uncompetitive. And then at Baltimore, in a game that Lamar doesn't even start, and you lose 30-16. Are they going to get off that train? I don't think so. I think Philly, with their loss last week, is going to play really motivated. That crowd's going to be really electric, given the Thanksgiving holidays and it being home at Lincoln Financial Field. And I just don't think it favors towards Chicago on Friday, especially with the short week. I think Philly it'll help them because they don't have to sit on that loss for as long. They are ready to go on Friday and can immediately just get rid of it and get it out of the mind. And so give me Philly to win and to cover, although I'd love to see Chicago win.
Jack, how many wins against playoff teams do you think Chicago has right now?
0.
0.
You would be correct.
Yeah.
They have 8 wins, and 0 of them are over playoff teams. They've beat the Cowboys, the Raiders, the Commanders, the Saints, the Bengals, the Giants, the Vikings, and the Steelers.
Yeah.
I I didn't mean to interrupt you. That was just like JP was talking about, like
Yeah, that's a great
their
point.
road struggles, the close wins, and when you list those three teams, I was like, those are three bad teams that they struggled against. And I was like, who else did they beat?
It was something
Nobody.
we talked about a ton with Chicago and the other show. Is people are saying they're fraudulent, but that's going to work itself out because they have to play the Eagles, the Packers twice, the Lions, Niners. So we'll know whether or not they're fraudulent and whether the not beating playoff teams will matter.
Yeah.
And it'll work itself out over the next
And
few weeks.
in terms of like how their fans should feel, you weren't beating these teams last year, so you're at least
Yeah.
made an improvement there. Be happy about that.
Sure.
Your pick, JP?
I got Philly.
That's what you said. You just said Philly. I apologize. I
You
didn't
good.
see it up there. I'm also going to take Philly, partially because of the Bears. I don't think they're frauds, but I do think their record's a little misleading. I'm not going to go as
Sure.
That's crazy that you pound the rock, hammer it, that Denver is fraudulent.
because I think the discourse around them is very different.
Well, that's fair. Okay, that's fair.
So I think people are way higher on Denver general. The general consensus is that Denver is better than Chicago. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, never. I take back my judgment of that take. That makes sense.
I just think we've been here before with Philly where they lose a game they shouldn't lose, or they just kind of put up a stinker and they still win it, and we start asking all these questions again, and then they turn around and kind of shut us up. And so I think they'll turn around and shut us up at least for a little bit until they have another really bad performance and the vibes get really bad. We start asking questions again. They turn around and shut us up. So I'll take Philly.